Are live. Hello and welcome to the BA Sports Podcast. It is week 1 of the NFL season, and the Cowboys and Eagles are currently in a lightning delay. So we're going to record the week 1 preview. It is 24-20. Philly is leading the Cowboys, and Miles Sanders just fumbled, and we are in a lightning delay until possibly 11:30 p.m. Eastern time, and we will see if that actually holds. If not, we may have to wait a little longer. So if you have any fantasy questions, please drop them in the chat. Thank you for joining on YouTube, TikTok, X, and Riverside. We're going to be going over rankings, my rankings for quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, defenses, and kickers. Then we're going to go through a little bit of a daily fantasy preview with a rough lineup that I've made as of Thursday night. Now, this is definitely going to change when Sunday comes around, but something to kind of base off of and see what I am seeing so far. And then games I want to target in DFS, games I want to avoid in DFS, some start, sit, sleepers, and busts. The full weekly matchup analysis will be out live on X Saturday with all of my start, sit, sleepers, and busts for every team, every game, all my score predictions for every game. So follow on X if you're not following already. And then we're going to wrap it up with listener questions. Thank you guys for joining. We are going to get right into rankings. So, leading it off, let's go into the quarterbacks and go through my top 12 really quick. Now, this will change depending on what injury news we hear, but Dak Prescott and Jalen Hurts are in my top 12. So let's just go through it really fast. I actually have Josh Allen as QB1, Lamar Jackson as QB2 for the week, Jalen Hurts as QB3 for the week, Joe Burrow QB4, Jaden Daniels QB5, Baker Mayfield QB6. I expect hopefully a shootout in Atlanta versus Tampa Bay. So hopefully those two teams. That's Baker Mayfield at my QB6. QB7 is Patrick Mahomes. QB8 Kyler Murray. He's got a great matchup against New Orleans. Bo Nix is my QB9 against Tennessee. Should be a good one for him at home in Denver. And then Drake May cracking my top 10. He is QB10. Dak Prescott is my QB11. And then Trevor Lawrence is cracking my top 12. He's got arguably the best matchup on paper, and I love him in daily fantasy this week. He's a great value, especially with the Carolina defense not really adding that much this year. So I think Trevor Lawrence has the opportunity to shine this week. We got Brock Purdy as QB 13, Jared Goff QB 14. I might be moving him even lower and moving up some quarterbacks. Justin Fields is my QB 16. Justin Herbert is my QB 15. Justin Fields, I'm a little worried about this week, and we'll go into him later. And yeah, that's my top 16 quarterbacks. Let's go into running backs, and all these rankings can be found. I'm going to go through the PPR running backs first. All rankings can be found on BA Sports BA-sports podcast.mailerpage.io. You can go to the rankings tab, and it will show you all the week 1 rankings. You can sort by your scoring format, PPR standard, and half PPR. Bijan Robinson leads off my running back, and honestly, I'm going to keep him there unless we get news that Vita Vea is in. If Vita Vea is in, I might move him to my RB3 and move Jahmyr Gibbs up a little bit, but Bijan sitting at the RB1, Saquon RB2, McCaffrey. We just got news today that his calf, he is bothering him a little bit. He was limited in practice. So that's something to watch out for. Christian McCaffrey this week. If he does not go, Brian Robinson is definitely worth the ad if he's available in your leagues. He is the handcuff to Christian McCaffrey. Now, I don't think this will put McCaffrey out, but it's something to monitor. May limit him this week. I don't know. Definitely concerning. Definitely something you don't want to see, especially because that's what bothered McCaffrey last year is the calf, the ankle, the Achilles. It's just like All that does not bode well for McCaffrey already this season, having not even played a single game, a single snap yet. So that's not good. Jahmyr Gibbs is my RB4. Chase Brown is my RB5. Jonathan Taylor, RB6. Devon Achane, RB7. Something to monitor with Achane is he is injured. So he has a calf injury as well. He was limited today officially at practice. So something to monitor. Ollie Gordon, definitely worth an add in leagues if you want to handcuff Devon Achane. If you want to add a running back on the tail end of your bench, Ollie Gordon is worth the add in all leagues. Thank you, Grayson. Thank you for liking the live. Appreciate everyone for joining. Let's go into RB8, Derrick Henry, RB9, Josh Jacobs, RB10, Bucky Irving, RB11, Ashton Genty, RB12, Kyron Williams. And that is the top 12. Let's go through a couple more. Let's go through the top 24 for you. And this is all subject to change. So I will post my rankings Sunday morning before games kick off, so you guys have an idea of where I'm at for my final rankings, and those will be posted on X. I might also post them on TikTok for you guys if that will help, and you can catch them on X or TikTok. And I may even go live on TikTok, so make sure you're following on TikTok for your start sit questions on Sunday morning. Now let's go into RB13 Chuba Hubbard. I really like his matchup this week, and I am trying to possibly take advantage of him in daily fantasy. RB14 James Conner. He's also got a pretty favorable matchup. I like that situation in Arizona at New Orleans. And then Kenneth Walker. I mean, if he's healthy, he's going to be good. Now the San Francisco defense does have a little bit of guys to worry about. It's an interdivision matchup. They could take away Kenneth Walker, but I think this run game for Seattle is going to be so strong this year, and it's going to get Seattle started off on the right foot. Tell me about it, AB. F this weather delay. He says, I agree. I'm ready for the Cowboys to get this game back on and hopefully get the ball back, and hopefully they can go score and win the game. Alvin Kamara is my RB16. He's going to get fed. I may not even have him high enough. He could be a top 12 running back this week. James Cook, tough matchup against Baltimore. Baltimore's defense looks pretty stout this year, but I've got him as my RB17. RB18, Travion Henderson. He's got a great matchup against Las Vegas. I think Travion Henderson takes advantage of this matchup this week and performs really well. Omarion Hampton is going to get the starting nod over Najee Harris, as we heard today from Harbaugh and the coaching staff. So that's good news for Omarion Hampton. I would start him in lineups. If you guys, hey, thank you, AB. I hope the Cowboys win it too. If you guys have Omarion Hampton, I think you should start him this week. I think he's going to do decent, and I think he gets into the end zone, honestly. DeAndre Swift is my RB20 against Minnesota. He's clearly the RB1 in Minnesota against Minnesota in Chicago. And I just don't see many people taking touches away from him in the backfield. So fire up DeAndre Swift this week. Aaron Jones is my RB21. Tony Pollard, RB22. Now, Tony Pollard's got a tough matchup at Denver, but he's going to get all the touches, like I said, with DeAndre Swift. Both of those guys, I mean, it's going to be really hard to take touches away from them. They're the focal point in their backfield. They don't really have much behind them. Until Tony Pollard gets Tajay Spears back, I think he's going to get a lot of the carries, and he could get into the end zone against Denver, even though it's a tough matchup. He's sneaking in as an RB2. Travis Etienne is RB23. RB24, old reliable David Montgomery, and that is my top 24 running backs. And let's run through some wide receivers. Let's go through a question really quick. Let's see. Yeah, Kevin, we're in weather delay for another possibly 30 minutes. Foxy B says, giving up Ingram Puka, getting Ridley and Trey McBride. I have Nico at wide receiver also. I think that's a good trade, even though Ridley is a tough matchup this week. Yeah, go Cowboys. Let's go. Got to get the win. I like that trade. You're getting a great tight end. You have Nico. Calvin Ridley's a good wide receiver. He's got a tough matchup this week, but I think it's worth it. I'm not a huge fan of Puka, and McBride is a big time upgrade over Evan Ingram. So now let's go into wide receivers. Some wide receiver matchups I really like this week. Nico Collins against the Rams. I like Drake London against the Bucks. I like Brian Thomas Jr. against the Panthers and Malik Neighbors at Washington. I think Malik Neighbors could take full on advantage of this. They're all within my top 6 wide receivers. Drake London, wide receiver 5. Brian Thomas, wide receiver 6. Nico, wide receiver 2. I may not have Brian Thomas Jr. high enough, if I'm being honest. And then I had CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver 4. He plays tonight. I have AJ Brown, wide receiver 9. He currently has a goose egg. He hasn't. AJ Brown hasn't caught a pass. He's read about 100 pages though. So Puka Nakua is my wide receiver 10. I've got Amon-Ra in there at wide receiver 8. He could see a lot of targets this week, but Jared Goff does not do well at Lambeau, so that's something to watch out for. But Amon-Ra should see good value in PPR leagues. Mike Evans, wide receiver 11. Ladd McConkey, wide receiver 12. JSN, wide receiver 13. I like T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. T. Higgins is currently slotting in as my wide receiver 14. Devontae Adams, wide receiver 15. Tyreek Hill, wide receiver 16. Marvin Harrison Jr., wide receiver 17. Terry McLaurin, wide receiver 18. Xavier Worthy, wide receiver 19. Tedero McMillan, wide receiver 20. DJ Moore, wide receiver 21. Cortland Sutton, wide receiver 22. Jerry Jeudy, who I think Cleveland can push Cincy this week. And Jerry Jeudy should see a good amount of targets from Joe Flacco. He's my wide receiver 23. Devontae Smith, wide receiver 24. That rounds out the top 24 for the week for wide receivers. Now, this is subject to change, except for the guys that are already playing. I mean, can't really shift them around, so they kind of have to stay where they're at. Tight end, I think this week, a sneaky tight end, Tyler Warren, should see a good matchup against Miami. Miami's defense is a little suspect, especially their secondary. So I don't know how they're going to be able to cover Tyler Warren, Josh Downs, and Michael Pittman. I like taking advantage of Josh Downs, Tyler Warren. I'm not a huge fan of Michael Pittman, but maybe he can get into the end zone. But Tyler Warren and Josh Downs, especially, I like this week. Tyler Warren slots in at my tight end 5 right now, and I may keep him there. I don't know if I want to move Kelsey ahead yet. The Chiefs and the Chargers play tomorrow night. All right, let me see. Foxy B said Henderson or Chuba this week and rest of season. Foxy B, Henderson rest of season, I think, but Chuba this week has a juicy matchup, and I like him a lot. I think I have Chuba. I have Chuba RB13. I've got Travion RB18. So definitely go Chuba this week. But Travion moving forward, I think for the season. KC, the Cowboys, I think they're looking decent. Their defense just needs to learn how to contain the Jalen Hurts. They've been getting too many bailouts on 3rd and 4th down. The Cowboys have for the Eagles. They should not be giving up those massive plays like to Jahan Dotson, the scrambles to Jalen Hurts. It's just horrible. Yeah, the Cowboys gotta cover the run lanes, cover something. I mean, they're letting Jalen Hurts and Saquon run wild. Thank you guys. All right, let's keep going. I'm going to get into the daily fantasy preview now. So, starting off, this is a daily lineup that I like this week. Quarterback Trevor Lawrence, running back Jahmyr Gibbs, running back Chuba Hubbard, wide receiver BTJ, wide receiver Drake London, another wide receiver Josh Downs, tight end David Njoku, who I think David Njoku is my tight end 7 this week. I think that David Njoku can do well against Cincinnati, who was not good at all against tight ends last year. And David Njoku with Joe Flacco at quarterback really shined in 2023. So hopefully he can do the same in 2025. I don't think Joe Flacco sticks all year. They're going to put the younger guys in eventually. But right now, David Njoku will be paired up with Joe Flacco in a prime matchup against Cincinnati, which I think is going to score a lot of points. And then flex Nico Collins defense. Cardinals defense is very cheap this week. They played the New Orleans Saints, and the Saints are not good at all against the Cardinals. I think the Saints offense is horrible. I just think Spencer Rattler, for real. Spencer Rattler is just not him. Tyler Shuck is not him. Now, they're going to have to feed Alvin Kamara, maybe Chris Olave, but I think the Cardinals defense is in a prime position to put up points for your fantasy team this week, especially in daily fantasy lineups. And now let's move in to games to target for daily fantasy. So some games that have some pretty high totals that I would like to target. Tampa Bay at Atlanta. Drake London will probably feast in this one. Now, if Darnell Mooney plays, it's going to be the Darnell Mooney and Drake London show. So Drake London won't get as many targets, but I still think Drake London and Darnell Mooney will have a day if they both play. If Darnell Mooney doesn't play, I think Drake London should be an auto start in your daily fantasy lineups. Drake London will already be an auto start in your regular fantasy lineups, but daily fantasy, watch out for Drake London. Carolina at Jacksonville is another game I want to target. It might be a shootout, and I hope it is because I'm looking at guys like Trevor Lawrence, Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby could be of some value, but I prefer ETN. And then Brenton Strange, a sleeper tight end I really like this week, who could have a great game against Carolina. And then going into that Carolina side, I like Chuba Hubbard. I think Tedero McMillan could do well. Bryce Young is another sleeper. So I think this could be a back and forth between Jacksonville and Carolina. I really like both of these teams this week to score a lot of points. Their defenses have not been great over the past couple of years. So I think we could see a shootout in Jacksonville. And it's Trevor Lawrence's first game at home, a home opener for him for the first time in his NFL career. Tet or Sutton week one, Sean. I'm going Cortland Sutton in week one. That's a close one, but I like Sutton this week. Next up, game I want to target is the Giants versus the Commanders. Tyrone Tracy has some upside for the Giants backfield. Cam Scatterbu, I don't think he makes an impact this week. I think that's one of the rookies that takes some time to get it going. So Tyrone Tracy should shine this week against the Commanders defense. And then another guy Malik Neighbors, I think is going to do well this week in daily fantasy. He's not priced as a top wide receiver. I mean, on FanDuel, he's in between BTJ and Nico and Drake London. All these guys are a little cheap right now. They're in like the high $7,700 for your FanDuel lineups. I don't know about DraftKings prices, but FanDuel, they're around 76 to 7,900. Neighbors, BTJ, Drake London, and Nico Collins. Stevenson or Jones. If that's Aaron Jones, I would go Aaron Jones. Wesley, I hope the Cowboys win this game for real, for real. Another game I would like to target, I guess on the Washington side of the ball, Jaden Daniels, he can always score points. Terry McLaurin, Jacory Krosky Merritt could be a sneaky play, but I think he's a little too risky in DFS and even in your fantasy lineups, but he could be a fun play if you really want to save money. Detroit at Green Bay could be another shootout. Really depends on how these defenses look. Green Bay's defense added Micah Parsons last week from the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones wanted to trade him away. I don't know why. He definitely would be able to help tonight against these Eagles and Jalen Hurts and everyone. But yeah, I would definitely avoid Jared Goff. He does not perform well in Lambeau this week. I think I have him at QB 16, going to move him down even lower this week. But this could be a game to target Matthew Golden, Jordan Love, the Detroit running backs. I love Jahmyr Gibbs this week. I love David Montgomery as an RB2 play. The Detroit run game is stout. I think they're going to do well against Green Bay. I think that's what they're going to try and target and exploit in this Green Bay defense, because Green Bay might be good against the pass and Jared Goff not performing well in Lambeau. They got to get the run game going. So this could be a game to target. And the last game to target, Cincinnati at Cleveland. I think this is another back and forth. Cincinnati's defense got a new defensive coordinator. Hopefully he solves the issues from last year, but we'll see. Cleveland always gives Cincinnati trouble over these last couple of years. I don't know if that just had something to do with Lou Anarumo on defense or what, but Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, those guys are going to go off. Chase Brown should eat for you in your lineup. Now, this is daily fantasy, so you're trying to save some money. Jerry Jeudy might be a little money saver. David Njoku definitely could save you some money at the tight end. Joe Flacco will save you money at the quarterback position if you really want to go full-on upside streamer right there with Joe Flacco. But those are some guys. I would not play either defense in this matchup. I would avoid Cincinnati entirely. I don't understand. Some of the projections are saying Cincinnati's defense is going to do well this week for fantasy. If you have them in your regular fantasy lineups, take them out. Please find someone else. The Arizona Cardinals, if they're out there, even the Patriots could be streamable this week. So that is the last game to target. Some games to avoid: Pittsburgh at the Jets. Very low total in this game. I think this game is going to be full of defense, 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 and running the football. Jalen Warren, Caleb Johnson. I think it's going to be tough for DK to get going against Sauce Gardner. I don't know if Sauce Gardner will shadow DK. You know, he's not known for shadowing the number one wide receiver, but whenever DK goes against him, he doesn't do well. And then Garrett Wilson on the other side of the ball. Mike Tomlin's going to try and take Garrett Wilson away. So it's going to be tough for Garrett Wilson to get stuff going. I'm not a huge fan of Garrett Wilson this week. Wide receiver 3 bust potential. He's a fringe wide receiver 3 flex play for me. DK Metcalf is also on bust alert for me, being that he's going up against Sauce Gardner. And this total is super low. I also don't like Justin Fields this week. He gets off to slow starts. If he's your QB1, I'd look to see if Trevor Lawrence is out there in fantasy leagues. And hopefully he is, because I would start him over Justin Fields, no doubt about it. Avoid this game, Pittsburgh at the Jets, if you can in daily fantasy. Next up in the daily fantasy avoid games, San Francisco at Seattle. More defense. Now we could see Christian McCaffrey play and play well, but he's got a lingering calf injury. I would kind of avoid him in daily fantasy. Too pricey. I'd take Jahmyr Gibbs instead. Um, there may be a couple plays here and there, but like Kenneth Walker, maybe, but I'm not a huge fan of it. I would stay away from this game. I think there's other high scoring games to target in daily fantasy. Houston at LA at the Rams, at the LA Rams, because LA Chargers playing tomorrow night in Brazil against the Chiefs. Tough defenses. Houston, really good defense. Rams, really good defense. Both young defenses. Both, I think, do well to start off this week. And, you could target a Ram like Kyron Williams, Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua in fantasy, daily fantasy, but I'm staying away from them. I think there's better guys out there on other teams. Houston, I mean, you could save money with a guy like Jaden Higgins if Christian Kirk is indeed out, which it's looking like Christian Kirk will be out. We have to monitor that status going into the weekend, but that's something to watch out for. And then Arizona at New Orleans. I mean, all these games, you could play the defenses. Arizona's defense, I think, is going to do well against New Orleans. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of Spencer Rattler. I think Alvin Kamara is like the only guy on the Saints offense alongside Chris Olave that actually scares me. I think the Arizona defense is going to do well this week. And there's also value in the other games, so I'm trying to avoid anyone in daily fantasy. Some quarterbacks I've named them: Trevor Lawrence, Joe Flacco, some cheaper options, some cheaper running back options: Tyrone Tracy, Travis Etienne, some cheaper receiver options: Darnell Mooney, Josh Downs, Emeka Egbuka, and then tight end David Njoku, Britton Strange, and defense Patriots and Cardinals. So that's kind of a daily fantasy preview for you guys going into the weekend. Steven, I don't know if they're ending the game tonight. Egbuka or Sutton? I would go Egbuka. Judy or Moore? I would go DJ Moore. Yeah, Row XA. I got 5 points from Dak as well. It's horrible. Key, I mean, I like what the Cowboys have been doing, but just Dak has not done anything at all tonight as far as like fantasy wise, which is hurting me. Game got suspended. Wow. Officially. I'm seeing it's in a delay, but I'm only on ESPN and I can't see the actual live cast. I guess it is delay, or I guess it is suspended. Well, yeah, I guess we'll see. I don't know. But we're gonna go into start, sit, sleepers, and busts. And starting it off with some starts. I like Kyler Murray this week. He's got a prime matchup against New Orleans. I think he's going to do really well. Marvin Harrison Jr. and him look like they have a good connection. I like Trey McBride as well. I think Kyler Murray is locked into your lineup as a top 10 quarterback this week. Another running back I like TreVeyon Henderson and DeAndre Swift. TreVeyon Henderson, I think he's got a great matchup. He's an explosive runner and he will get work. So don't worry about the depth chart saying he's an RB3. There's no way he's behind Antonio Gibson. And then DeAndre Swift, as I was stating earlier, he's the clear RB1 who will handle the majority of the workload in week one. Kyle Monangai is the RB2, it looks like, in Chicago. With Roschon Johnson. What up, Matt? Thanks for joining. And then wide receiver wise, let's go into some wide receiver starts. I like Emeka Egbuka with no Godwin, no McMillan. Fire up Egbuka as a solid flex play this week. And another wide receiver, I mean, this guy's going to be in your lineup regardless. Drake London, he averages against Tampa Bay his 3 career home games against Tampa Bay. He averages 11 targets, 9 receptions, and 149 yards in Atlanta. That's pretty good for 3 games against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay loves to blitz. Drake London is the prime target when Tampa blitzes for Michael Penix and when Kirk Cousins was quarterback as well. Should you drop A.J. Brown? Do not drop A.J. Brown. Please don't do that. I know he's got a goose egg, but his time will come. He may even go to New England. Who knows? And then some tight ends I like as starts. David Njoku averaged 18 fantasy points per game with Flacco in 23. And then Cincy's defense, like I said, they just didn't improve that much. And they were number one in the most favorable matchup for tight ends last year. So I think David Njoku should be in your starting lineup. Tyler Warren, I think the Colts are going to use him to do everything, especially in the red zone. They're going to feed him in week one. He is a rushing, receiving, and even a passing threat in the red zone. So expect some trickery, I think, with Tyler Warren in week one if they want to show that off already out of the gate. And then defense, I like the Jets defense. Low total this week, lowest scoring matchup, the only over under that is under 40 points. And I think they're a good defense if they're out there who is loaded up with a defensive minded head coach and they want revenge on Aaron Rodgers, maybe. I don't know. But I like the Jets defense this week. Some other sleepers I like Trevor Lawrence. We see Liam Cohen, QB Whisperer, maybe revived Baker Mayfield a little bit after Dave Canales. And let's see if he can revive Trevor Lawrence. I think he does. And I think BTJ, Trevor Lawrence light up, and Britton Strange as well, light up the Carolina Panthers this week. I think BTJ goes for 150 plus. I think Britton Strange gets in the end zone. I think Trevor Lawrence throws for 300 yards or more. Start Trevor Lawrence. If you have Justin Fields, if you have Jared Goff, I'd rather have Trevor Lawrence in my starting lineup. And some other sleepers, Dylan Sampson. I like Dylan Sampson a lot, coming out of college, out of Tennessee, and I think he's a stash play. I don't think you're gonna play him this week, but I think if he's out there and you have an open bench spot to slot him in, I would definitely stash Dylan Sampson, the running back in Cleveland. Josh Downs is a guy that I like as a sleeper wide receiver this week. He could be a good flex play for you. And Miami just doesn't have a secondary. And I think the Colts are going to feed Josh Downs, Tyler Warren, especially those two. And then also, Jonathan Taylor's going to get the rock. I don't know if Daniel Jones can effectively feed Josh Downs, but I hope he can. Hopefully on some short areas, not really the downfield passer like Anthony Richardson, but hopefully the short area targets are there for Josh Downs. And then tight end, my number one sleeper, Brenton Strange. Like I said, I expect him to get in the end zone this week for Jacksonville. He's probably out there in the majority of leagues. If you have a tight end spot open or a bench spot open, definitely get Brenton Strange as a stash. Or if you have to desperately start a tight end, I think he might do it this week and perform well. He is the number one guy after Evan Ingram went to Denver. So watch out. I know the panic meter's at 1,000,000 for AJ Brown, but you gotta hold so far. And then my number one sleeper defense is the New England Patriots. I think they're a sneaky play against the Raiders. They added a lot on defense. I don't know how fast this defense can gel together. It is the first game they're playing together as a unit under Mike Vrabel. So we'll see how this defense fares against Vegas in week one, but they've got a great matchup. Another sleeper defense. I like the Arizona Cardinals. They should be available in the majority of leagues. So watch out for those sleepers. And then some sits and busts. Let's go into the sits first. I'm sitting CJ Stroud. This Rams defense is very good, and I think they're going to get pressure on CJ Stroud. The Texans' offensive line was abysmal last year, didn't really improve it this year. I mean, they have a rookie starting at left or right tackle. And I just don't like CJ Stroud. I think he's going to get sped up in this one. Um, he may hit Nico in garbage time for a couple touchdowns, but I'd be cautious about starting CJ Stroud. I'd rather start Trevor Lawrence, as I've been preaching pretty much all stream so far. And then Nick Chubb is another sit. I don't like this Houston Texans offense besides Nico Collins this week. I don't trust the Nick Chubb matchup in week 1 against the Rams. Laporta or Warren at tight end, Aiden asks. I would go Tyler Warren at tight end, Chase Brown and Aubrey for CMC and Lutz. Nope. Hang on to Chase Brown and Brandon Aubrey. I think CMC and Lutz are good, but I'd rather have Chase Brown. CMC's already injured. You never know. I don't trust the 29-year-old running back. Yeah, I know the Cowboys have been saved by the refs, but so have the Eagles. It's been both ways. Some other sits. The guy who's going to see Pat Surtain Island this week, it's going to be Calvin Ridley. I don't have much more to say other than it's Pat Surtain, and Calvin Ridley should not be starting in your lineup this week. He may get garbage time, but I'm not trusting it. Pat Surtain locked up the number 1 wide receivers last year. I think he's going to do the same this year. Definitely do not start him. Chigo Okonkwo has also got a tough matchup. I'm not liking the Titans or the Texans this week, except for Tony Pollard, and that's about it for the Texans. Nico Collins, that's also about it. Brenton Strange is a better play than Chigo Okonkwo, and if you somehow have Chigo Okonkwo, maybe Brenton Strange is out there. I don't know. Bengals defense is also another sit. I don't really need to say much here. They were a bad team last year on defense, and they didn't improve much on that side of the ball. I mean, at least they signed Trey Hendrickson to a 1-year deal, but hopefully the new defensive coordinator changes the scheme up and fixes it. But right now, I'm not trusting it, and there should be better options for you, like the Cardinals in week 1. So sit the Bengals defense. And then some busts. I'd also consider this guy a sit, but he will bust for you, I think. Justin Fields, he just doesn't get off the great starts. He starts off slow. He could make up for it with his rushing upside, but I still don't trust it this week in a low scoring matchup. The only over under that is under 40 points. And I'm not trusting Justin Fields. Give me Trevor Lawrence. Give me Drake May instead. Running back Aaron Jones is another guy that I think could bust this week. I think the Chicago defense could give him some trouble. I think Jordan Mason is going to take the early down work. Now, Aaron Jones in PPR leagues, that could be a different story. Aaron Jones in PPR leagues, he could make up for it in all of those catches he usually gets. So it really depends on what format you're in, but I think he might bust this week. So be cautious about starting Aaron Jones. He's definitely one of the better RB2 options, but I don't trust it this week. And then another wide receiver. This guy, I think he's going to be a bust, but I'm going to be forced to start him. It's Garrett Wilson. I'm starting him in my flex. I wrote about him on the Fantasy Pros article that is coming out soon. It may already be out. If it's out, I'll tweet it out and let you guys know tonight. Mike Tomlin's going to take away the Jets' number 1 guy and Garrett Wilson and make him beat them elsewhere, maybe on the ground with Breece Hall and Braylon Allen. We'll see about that. But I am trying to avoid Garrett Wilson if I can, but I unfortunately cannot. I'm going to have to start him as a flex play and just hopefully he gets into the end zone and gets some catches in PPR formats. Another guy I do not like is in the same game, tight end Jonnu Smith. There should be better options available. I've preached Brenton Strange. I like Brenton Strange over Jonnu Smith this week if he's available. Don't trust him with the over-under being under 40 points. I think there's got to be better options for you out there. And if you're starting Jonnu Smith, I am sorry. Let's answer some more questions, guys. Keep them rolling. I heard the game was gonna resume at 11:30 Eastern, but I don't know. I know user the taunting call on Smith was so soft. The NFL's got soft this year. I don't know why they're calling that. Hollywood or Tank Bigsby. I would start Tank Bigsby in your flex over Hollywood Brown. If you guys got questions, drop them in the chat. I'm going to be answering them for a couple minutes and then we're going to log off. But yeah, I think the full start sit sleepers and busts is going to be out Saturday, so be sure to stay tuned for that. I agree, drop D, man. It's horrible. They should not be calling they should not be calling those plays, but hey, weather delay, I understand. I'm not trying to get struck by lightning with a helmet on. Played football once or twice in weather, and if there's lightning in the area, that's no joke. But if there's no lightning, I mean, you can play in the rain and snow, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I mean, let me go through some kickers I like this week if you guys need to stream a kicker or two. I like it, Polar Vortex. Hey, Dallas can't stop the run either. Jalen Hurts is running all over. And Saquon as well. Will Shipley, they're all running all over Dallas. Dallas needs to get it figured out. Will Lutz is a kicker I like this week. If he's available out there, I don't know why he's kind of going undrafted in some leagues. I really don't know why. Another kicker I like this week, Cam Little. He's got a good matchup against Carolina. I think if Cam Little and Carolina and Jacksonville get into a shootout, Cam Little could provide some value. Another guy that could be available, Young Hoku. I don't know if Young Wei Koo is out there, but if he is, I mean, if you got to stream a kicker, that's a guy to stream. Some other defenses, but besides the Cardinals, besides the Patriots, the Rams, if they're available, I think they could be a good streaming option against Houston. Houston's O line is just abysmal. And then let's see here, another defense I think could be streamable. I mean, I've talked about the Patriots, the Cardinals, the Seahawks could be a sneaky option. I think if the Niners are available in your league, you should definitely check them out. Maybe look at adding them. Really depends on who you have. But I think this game's going to get started soon, hopefully. I haven't seen anything on it because I've been on live for the past 30 minutes. Thank you guys for tuning in for some start, sit, sleepers, and busts, some daily fantasy talk, and then a little bit of a rankings preview. All of that will be out on Saturday and Sunday morning. So be sure to stay tuned and follow at BA Sports Podcast on X, BA Sports Podcast on TikTok. And yeah, thank you all for tuning in. It was a little short episode, kind of going through some rankings, some DFS preview, and then start sit sleepers and busts, along with some questions from TikTok Live that everyone's asking. So thank you guys for tuning in. Going to be going live next Thursday as well, and football's back. So hopefully the Cowboys can pull this one out. And then we got the Chiefs and Chargers tomorrow night on Friday night. So stay tuned for that. Thank you guys for watching the BA Sports Podcast. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Have a good one.